first of all, we already saw one of the health people of the health administration, RFK's people, collapse in the Oval Office. Is Kristen next? Are we going to see her passing out?
And can I stop you there? What was Trump doing? I forgot when the person collapsed. Was he just playing with like a Rubik's Cube or something? He was just kind of minding his own business as like, we don't know how to be dying.
He doesn't know how to turn that Rubik's Cube. He was just staring at the wall at his golden mantle. Obviously there's money to be made here. What is really sad, I mean, of course, anything Greg Abbott does, we're already like, wonder why. They cut cancer funding research. Cut cancer funding research. And now we're putting $15 million for magic mushrooms for a clunk, clunk, clunk. Well, of course your head's clear now. The clunk, clunk is gone. Like, what is going on with these people? And I'm all for looking into other types of medicine, natural derived things. We have far too long as a country been sort of really biased against anything that isn't quote unquote Western medicine. So I'm okay with this, but obviously this is very nefarious when it comes in this package.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm glad that you brought that up. You're cutting cancer funding, right? And then you're putting it into this ibogaine nonsense with Sinema going down and tripping off of the drug. She might still be tripping, okay? Greg Abbott is absolutely certifiable. Do I agree with Jasmine Crockett affectionately calling him Wheels? No, but I mean, the guy just works people's nerves. And of course she ran to him, okay? And he said, sure, let me show you how to grift here, hon. It's just, look, it is what it is. Yeah. We got one more, I think we can get to it. It's an unhoused lawsuit, okay? Actually, let's save that one. I've been loopy enough, and I think we end with ibogaine and the psychedelic nonsense that's going on with Kyrsten Sinema. No one's missed her, have they, Viviana, since she decided to bail out and get rich?
No, we haven't. I thought she was gone, enjoying, floating on a pool float somewhere. But no, she's here trying to make some more money. Okay.
Nice to see you, not Kyrsten. Tell people where they can find your great work.
Well, you can find me on Instagram. I have a show on PBS and MSNBC, Leguizamo Does America, parts 1 and 2. Don't know if we're gonna get a third season, so keep an eye out for that. And you can watch me on $1 Million House Hunters, where I find a lot of people their dream home.
I just love you. And when my face heals, maybe we can do a collab. I
love you too.
I would too.
You're so funny.
We'll exchange information and the like, but I just think the world of you. Thanks, John. I hope I didn't do anything actionable on the show today. I hope I get to come back. If not, we love you all, our TYT family. They're giving me thumbs up, and then fireworks and everything went off, unless that's just what's going on with the Mets. But thank you for watching. Stay with TYT. Do your Noble Mobile and everything else. And if you're gonna eat turkey, have at it and then take a nap. Thanks for watching, everybody.
All right, welcome back. Not welcome back. All right, what up? Welcome to Disputable. Long day today. Always good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of those who celebrate the holiday, to those who send positive vibes and wishes during this holiday. We are very thankful for the opportunity to engage, and to Hosea Helps. Hosea Helps. For decades, they have been feeding those who are unsheltered in the city of Atlanta and beyond. Always thankful for their partnership. We'll be engaging with them throughout the week. All right. Breaking down news of the day with us, none other than Mr. Elliott Morgan. Always fascinating to have his breakdown. Top story of the day. What if you're in a restaurant and you happen to be of the same race as somebody who is getting kicked out, and because of that, you are thus kicked out as well? Hell of a thing. Put it up full mass. That is the exact allegation. According to Atlanta Black Star, 9 Black women say they were abruptly kicked out of a Virginia steakhouse after the manager wrongly associated the 9 Black women with 2 Black women who got into a physical altercation. This was in the dining area. The room was open view, as you can see. The women say they were racially profiled and are considering legal action against the restaurant. I'm going to get into that in a moment. Let's go to Ms. Shakoya Somerville Holt. She told reporters last Thursday that she and 8 of her girlfriends, it is called their sister circle, went to the Cork and Bull Chop House on the evening of November 6th. They went there to enjoy a meal. Some laughter, some celebration. It's called a Friendsgiving dinner, okay? Friendsgiving. Shortly after they were seated and ordered drinks, an intense fight broke out between 2 other women. They had no affiliation, did not know them, but a fight did break out. They had been seated nearby and who ended up grappling and half naked on the floor. This was a serious altercation, all right? They had nothing to do with it once again. This wild scene was captured on video. It went viral. Police were called, and the 2 women involved in the altercation, they actually left before the officers arrived. But management soon focused on the table of 9 Black women who were there enjoying themselves for a Friendsgiving get-together, telling them that they would not be served and needed to go. Before I get into the rest of the story, I want to remind everyone of something called public accommodations. The public accommodations law simply says, if you are a business, and your business generally serves the public, you are required by law to provide equal accommodations to everyone who will patronize that business, regardless of race, gender, religion, sexual orientation. It's real simple. Public accommodation. If you choose not to do so, that means that you are in violation of that public accommodation. Also, unequal application of policy. It would be one thing if they said, okay, everybody has to leave. It is unfortunate. We now have a situation where we have to clean up, or it's a crime scene that needs to be investigated, et cetera, et cetera. At least then, everyone would have equal application of the policy, thus not violating the rule of public accommodation. They did neither. Now, when Somerville Holt asked if the restaurant was closing due to the fight, which is the absolute relevant question, Are we being asked to leave because the restaurant is closing? She says employee Andrew Lewis, listed online as the wine director, responded, quote, "No, we're just not serving you all because y'all like to fight," end quote. The women, Holt, Tanisha Barnes, Ms. Bazemore, Ms. Boney, Ms. Jones, Ms. McCabe, Ms. McNair, and Pickens, said their ejection seemed to be based solely on the fact that both women in their group and the two involved in the fight, happened to be Black. No other customers, most of whom were not African American, were questioned, nor were they asked to leave. When police arrived, a female manager directed the officers to interview the stunned party of 9. Why? They are just patrons trying to enjoy a meal, declaring, quote, they had something to do with it. So their attorney told Atlanta Black Star, she said the police quickly cleared her clients of involvement, but another Cork and Bull employee, a chef, was not satisfied with the police investigation of these innocent women and began peering at purses and items on their table, remarking that, quote, the ladies involved in the fight were now looking for their things. Melbourne Griffin said when her clients again insisted they had nothing to do with the feuding women, the chef allegedly told them, quote, get the F out, end quote. Put up these women. Obviously in shock due to the treatment. The women, who are all college educated, they all have professional jobs, including an accountant, business systems analyst, a licensed social worker, etc., filed out in front of the other patrons. This was embarrassing. Quote, with all eyes on us, said Pickens, who told WAVY-TV that the experience was, quote, very embarrassing. Obviously it was. While she believes their civil rights were violated, which is correct, once again, public accommodation, and, quote, may implicate public accommodations protections, Malvin Griffin, the attorney, says they are not yet ready to file a civil suit against the restaurant, which she said has not apologized to the women or responded to any of her or her client's communications. The attorney said that she sent a letter to the restaurant's parent company, M&M Hospitality, notifying them to preserve video and other evidence related to the incident. In other words, do not engage in spoliation, to get rid of documentation that may, in fact, be used in a civil suit. So here's the interesting dynamic. When the email went forth that said you all did something that was dismissive, that was a violation of public accommodation, and unfairly targeted 9 Black women who simply were there to enjoy a Friendsgiving get-together, that would have been the opportunity for the restaurant to respond by saying, we apologize, or if they did not want to admit liability, at least indicating that it is under investigation. The fact that there has been no response, and if this goes to trial, these are the things that would lead a jury to, well, let's just say judge for punitive as well, meaning to punish the wrongdoer, because the wrongdoer decided not to do anything to reconcile or remedy the offense. There's more. November 7th, the day after the incident, the restaurant posted this message on a Facebook page. Quote, last night, an unexpected altercation between guests occurred in our dining room. Now remember, it was 2 people. We sincerely apologize to our patrons who may have been affected or made uncomfortable. Our team takes great pride in maintaining a warm, welcoming environment for everyone who walks through our doors, and we're deeply grateful for the continued support of our community. Put up the Black women again, Jordan. To the restaurant management, are they considered part of your community? Are they considered patrons, guests? Because if so, they were offended by the fight as well. Actually, they were offended more than anyone else because, see, because of that fight, they were investigated by the police. They were told to leave the restaurant in front of other patrons, in front of other guests, and they had nothing to do with the women who were there, according to the allegation. So are they part of your apology, or are they not part of your community? I'm asking for a friend. The attorney called that statement, quote, almost like a slap in the face, end quote, to our clients, since, quote, that was an apology to potential patrons. It wasn't an apology to the people you threw out. And by the way, they were patrons too. Professional women who are wives and mothers who are now feeling fragile, she said, some seeking therapy and pastoral counseling over what they experienced. Meanwhile, the social media pages of Cork and Bull have been inundated with angry comments from local residents who scolded the restaurant and its staff for racially profiling and mistreating the women, many vowing never to eat there again. Others have posted scathing 1-star reviews online. It's called Cork and Bull. Now, why have they not apologized to the guests that were most adversely impacted by the fight? Do you believe that 9 Black women, regardless of their professional affiliation, you think they went to your restaurant to see a physical altercation? You don't think they were made to be uncomfortable in the moment of their physical altercation? You think somehow they're immune to the feelings of discomfort while 2 individuals are fighting at a restaurant? But you provide no apology for them. What you're doing is stacking the deck against yourself. And I believe the reason why the attorney has not filed civil suit yet against you, which I believe is coming, one reason, they are waiting for the conclusive results of the counseling sessions that these women are currently going through. You will have a lawsuit afterwards. All right. Dear brother, thoughts here?
I mean, Dr. Ritchie, you're not going to believe this, but I've actually never experienced personally anything like this. I wonder why that is. I've been in
Right.
experiences where there's been altercations. No one has ever said, hey, your skin is the same color as the people who got into this altercation, so you have to leave now. It makes you think, it makes you wonder a little bit. I also think that, like, when people are talking these days a lot about racism in this country, one way you can decide whether or not that's a serious problem is when situations like this happen and the temperature gets raised, and all of a sudden you see all these knee-jerk responses from the chef and from the actual restaurant. I will also say, and I could be totally wrong here, but there is something so soulless about that apology that it almost makes me wonder if it was written by like Chat GPT or
Right.
something, where they're like, please just like write something where we don't take any blame, but it sounds good and professional. It's like a paint by numbers apology. So I wish the best of these women, and I look forward to seeing how this lawsuit transpires.
Yeah, same here. And we will definitely bring you updates as the story develops. Okay, talk about defunding the police. The police, they now have to take out a loan. They got to borrow some money, about $300 million. They're looking for $300 million to resolve a police misconduct issue. It has come to this. Let's go to Chicago PD. Chicago Police Department. They are now set to borrow $283.3 million in order to resolve police misconduct lawsuits. the city of Chicago must borrow this money to cover the soaring cost of lawsuits alleging Chicago police officers committed a wide range of misconduct, including wrongful convictions and improper pursuits, as part of the city's 2026 budget, according to the mayor. Mayor Brandon Johnson said. Before we get into the rest of this story, understand the police are defunding the police so much so that they now have a negative debt crisis due to lawsuits. You would have avoided this if you did not have credible claims from citizens who said that this cop, that cop, and this cop are corrupt. And they engaged in civil rights violation. And because of that, you now have to pay that citizen, that resident, and that resident, defunding the police. So now they have to borrow money, according to the mayor. It will likely cost Chicago taxpayers approximately $52 million in interest to borrow that money and pay off that money during the next 5 years. That is according to estimates provided to the Chicago City Council by the Chief Financial Officer, the CFO, Jill Jaworski. Now, Chicago taxpayers have spent at least $285.3 million to resolve lawsuits alleging Chicago police officers committed a wide range of misconduct so far in 2025. That's according to an analysis of city data by WTTW News. That is $200 million more than the city's annual budget to resolve lawsuits alleging police misconduct, city records show. So understand, they already have a preset budget to resolve misconduct issues. That's already taxpayer funding going out the door because of misconduct of police officers. So you have defunding the police. They say, okay, we're fine with it up to a certain amount. And we're fine with police misconduct. We know it's going to happen up to a certain amount. But the culture is so extreme that they're doubling the amount and having to borrow money in order to keep the agency, the governmental agency known as the police department, running. Can I say this? What other department would have this kind of leeway? Watershed management would never be able to survive if taxpayers had to pay damn near $300 million to cover claims of corruption. Waste management, never. That governmental agency would not survive. If the taxpayers had to pay $300 million in order to keep them afloat, what would happen? A changing of the guard, a changing of the culture, a transition and a transformation of leadership. All of that would take place under any other governmental agency in your city. There's more. 2024. In 2024, taxpayers spent at least $107.5 million to resolve police misconduct lawsuit. That's according to a separate news analysis by WTTW News. 2026. Taxpayers are set to pay an additional $90 million to 180 people who spent a combined nearly 200 years in prison after being wrongfully convicted based on what they allege was fabricated evidence gathered by former Chicago Police Sergeant Ronald Watts, who was convicted in 2013 of taking bribes and other officers. Despite that, the 2026 budget sets aside just $82.5 million to cover the cost of resolving police misconduct lawsuits. You don't have one bad apple. You have a lot of them. And they are right about bad apple. Bad apple spoil the bunch. And so you have a sergeant. This is a person in middle management. He's a middle management guy, okay? He's close enough to the streets to accept the bribes. He's close enough to leadership to hide it. So he's a middle management guy. before the middle management guy was, let's just say, uncovered, there was a lot of talk about the middle management guy. There were a lot of complaints about this sergeant, a lot of complaints about the officers taking bribes. A lot of people looked the other way. It was the culture of policing. So now the taxpayers, they have to pay for the misconduct and the mismanagement of these officers. That is the way it will be for your city as well, if you do not get out of control policing under control. Because at the end of the day, the money is what's paid out to the victims of these cops time and time again. So this is what needs to change in Chicago. City officials have to step up to comply with the consent decree. The federal court order designed to compel the department to change the way it trains, the way it supervises, and the way it disciplines officers and for them to stop routinely violating the civil rights of Black and Latino citizens. 6.5 years after the consent decree was implemented, Chicago PD had fully complied with only 22% of its requirements by the end of June. That's according to a court-appointed monitoring team charged with keeping track of reform efforts. You have Jesse Fuentes, Alderman, 26th Ward. Fuentes said she hopes this moment serves as a reckoning about both the financial toll and the human cost of police misconduct. Fuentes represents Humboldt Park, home to many people who contend they were framed by disgraced former CPD detective Ronaldo Guevara. Taxpayers have paid $112 million to resolve 9 cases. Naming Guevara, 44 cases are pending, records show. And there are many more. Now, I've said this for many years about Chicago. Chicago's main job, Chicago PD's main job, is keeping North Chicago separate from South Chicago. And the reason why you have such an out-of-control murder rate and violent crime rate is because the police department, look at the stats, they're not solving crimes. They're not solving homicides. They're not solving violent crimes. Well, why is that? Well, they're taking money. They're going to work in order to solicit bribe, to keep the middle management part alive. You can't tell me that if the police department has a culture of non-corruption, if it has a culture of non-corruption, that means the corrupt actors would not have leadership space to operate in such a manner. But if most are complicit, if not engaged, that means the culture is the other way, where corruption can run free without meaningful reformation to stop it. There's more. These families had to suffer. They had to suffer an immense amount of trauma because of these cops, not just individuals who were behind bars, but their children had to suffer. Their parents had to suffer. Their relatives had to suffer, who are still in the community, according to Fuentes, calling it an injury added to an insult that those residents' tax dollars are being used to defend the very cops and the other officers. Isn't that ironic that we are forced to pay for our own oppression? So we go to work, the taxpayer goes to work, and they are forced to pay for their own oppression. They have no choice. They get brutalized in the front end, brutalized in the back end, brutalized in the middle. Chicago taxpayers have paid at least $42.4 million to defend Officer Guevara and other officers he worked with during his 26-year career. 26-year career. The city agreed to pay $62.5 million to victims of this guy. That's Ronaldo Guevara, men who were wrongfully convicted of violent crimes they never committed, mostly during the 1980s and 1990s. Obviously, he's not the only one. There you have it. So now you have a different review of Chicago. Dear brother, thoughts here?
You know, what kept popping up in my mind when you were describing this story is the 2008 financial crisis. I mean, it's not like A to A analogy, but in that instance, you had a very powerful group of people who inflicted some kind of harm on a powerless group of people. And then it ended up being the powerless group of people that had to bail out the powerful group of people. And I feel
Yep.
like this is sort of a microcosm of that. The difference one difference at least is that when it comes to the police force, you're going to end up harming people in ways that are really different than I think
Yep.
the financial impact of the 2008 crisis. So I hope this all gets, shined the brightest light on, because at this point, this is something that is systemic. I also think it is something that repeats itself across various like levels in our culture, and it's going to continue to happen, just as with the 2008 crisis. After that happened, they went on to do whatever they wanted, and we're now, as some say, on the precipice of some other crash because of the way they have again mishandled their finances. And I'm not trying to reduce what's going on here to that, but I think it's important for people to remember that this is a theme that is recurring in our culture more and more.
That's right, because corruption, governmental corruption, always equates to financial mismanagement, regardless of what that corruption may be, right? So you're going to get the expression of financial chaos based on the mismanagement, even if that mismanagement comes by way of corruption. And so that's what you're seeing, and that's a similarity that exists in both realms. We're going to bring you updates as they come. I'm sure there will be more to talk about during the defense of these cops in Chicago. Okay, listen, everyone, we have invaded Mexico by accident. But we invade, man, this is not an SNL skit. We invaded Mexico. Men on the ground, guns ready. It's an invasion, but it was a mistake. It's very difficult to explain the following, but I will try. Here it is. That's the invasion. Put it up full mass. A group of American defense contractors mistakenly landed on a beach near Playa Baghdad in Mexico. This was on November 17th, about 12 miles south of the US border. They installed signs claiming this area is now restricted. The Mexican Navy quickly showed up. Why? Because they're in Mexico. So the Mexican Navy, they show up. It's a bizarre situation. It was resolved peacefully. Reportedly, the U.S. Embassy in Mexico blamed changes in the water topography for the error, because somehow they missed. It was a navigational dynamic. That's what happened. Okay, that's according to the U.S. Embassy. I'm laughing because the person to blame is Hegseth, who's in charge of. He's in charge of the military. One of the signs that was posted on social media with the Defense Department warning that the beach has now been declared a restricted area by the authority of the commander. So how did this happen? The Daily Beast reported the Mexican Navy removed the signs without incident and directed the group of contractors back to the United States, to South Texas, where they were hired by Hegseth to install the signs on the US-Mexico border declaring a so-called, quote, National Defense Area 3. It's part of the Trump administration's effort to shore up the border. Quote, changes in the water depth and topography alter the perception of the international boundaries location, with the Pentagon adding that contractors would, quote, coordinate with appropriate agencies to avoid confusion in the future. The news outlet, the Midas Touch, said on Thread. You know, you probably could have called them the first time. So we're just showing up with armed contractors in military gear, and we're not phoning ahead to coordinate with our allies. So that's what we're doing. Okay. News outlets are reporting that the Mexican government has launched an investigation into the blunder. The Mexican Navy and Foreign Affairs Department issued a joint statement, according to the Daily Beast. Quote, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has contacted the U.S. Embassy in Mexico about this incident. The agency said, you have to imagine the good folk at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, that America has invaded Mexico and didn't tell no one at the U.S. Embassy, and they're stuck in Mexico, okay? And the U.S. Embassy having to come with a spin story in order to make it make sense. So the Mexican section of the international boundary and the Water Commission, CILA, will begin technical consultations to further clarify the incident and will review the maps and instruments that mark the border between both countries as established by existing boundary and water treaties. Once again, you do this up front if you're competent and capable. All of this is a coordinated dynamic, easy to do, not difficult, just takes a little bit of, well, communication. There's more. This came the same day that Trump said he'd be okay with U.S. military strikes on Mexican drug cartels. This happened the same day he said this, which he has said this before. Americans on social media are holding Hegseth responsible. Quote, Hegseth guys need to have a woman who knows the directions. Threads user Joe Howie declared another user thinks the screw up was more than a misunderstanding. Quote, that wasn't accidental. This administration is incompetent. Military uses GPS for everything. Investigation is ongoing. When I first saw this story, I said, well, I wonder, did they not expect the Mexican Navy to respond so quickly? That maybe, possibly this was intentional, and possibly this was a move of aggression, and possibly they were caught off guard by the equally aggressive and quick move of the Mexican Navy to be present during this debacle or intentional act. Who knows? All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
I mean, you know, you gotta laugh because we have a president who has a history of being a reality television star, but I think he has one-upped himself with Hegseth, who I think should be a sitcom star. Like this is,
right.
I look forward to the shenanigans that this guy's gonna get us into in the coming months. I hope no one gets hurt. I'm glad that, you know, it doesn't seem like anybody was here. I'm very curious about the changes in water depth that caused them to do this, because that sounds a heck of a lot like a tide, or and I'm pretty sure they do have more sophisticated machinery to be able to actually know where they're going. So I mean, this is a goofy bunch of people. I remember growing up and being taught that these guys in power were just like echelons above you know, the normal person. These were experts in what they had to do. These were people who had sacrificed, who would work so hard. And now I think we have an administration where you just can't help but kind of laugh at them because they're goofy. They're goofy people. So
yeah, this was goofy, man.
God bless them.
Yeah. All right, we'll bring you updates as they develop. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapo here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only Black salesperson there. He's the only Black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token Black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you. Be well. Happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Don't forget, every year you have Medicare annual enrollment. Let's put it up. I want to make sure that you are aware. If you are 64 or older, or your parents are, your grandparents are, you got to pay attention. You're probably already getting the spam calls, junk mail flooding in. So it's easy to tune this stuff out. Here's what you do need to know. Medicare plans change every single year. Every single year. Many are canceled for 2026. If you do not review your options, you risk overpaying or possibly losing your coverage or the coverage that you need. All right. So I'm telling you about our trusted Medicare partner, Chapter. So they are different. I will tell you how. They look at every plan in the country, not just the ones that pay big commissions, to find what truly works for your life, your needs, and your budget. It's quick, it's easy, takes less than 20 minutes. They can review your options. If the plan you already have is the best plan for you, they'll tell you that. It's the best plan for you, keep it moving. If not, they will give you options so that you do not lose coverage or overpay for the coverage that you have access to. It is worth the 20-minute call. The people that use Chapter save on average of $1,100, often more. You can call them. Take down the number. 1-800-965-4108. 1-800-965-4108. Make sure you and your folk are protected for 2026. A lot of changes are happening, okay? All right, let's look at some of these real comments. I think this is Tayo_1790. What I'm thankful for in this Thanksgiving is to have your enlightened voice on TYT, Dr. Richie, and I'm thankful for your enlightened voice as well. Iron sharpens iron. Greatly appreciate your continued support. Kara, the taxpayers keep paying for police misconduct and nothing changes. This is malpractice on part of the elected officials, and there needs to be accountability. You are absolutely correct. And by the way, to your point, this is why we call for cops to have their own malpractice insurance. If a medical doctor is negligent or criminally negligent in a hospital, you can still sue the hospital. But some of that money is coming out of that malpractice. If the doctor is found liable, some of that money comes out of the malpractice insurance that the doctor has to personally have in order to be employed at said hospital, which creates a lower burden of liability financially for the hospital itself to ensure the hospital doesn't tank. That's the reason for it. So if you don't want your government to tank, like you have Chicago having to borrow $300 million because, well, cops don't have malpractice insurance for their profession. This is a fitting option moving forward, and that's why that option is promoted by myself and others. Okay. Stephanie -007. Hope everybody's well today. Hope you're well also. And I think this is Akizeta. Mistakenly invade Mexico. Sounds like the plot to a satire movie. Yeah, kinda. And Love 18 White Girl. Happy Thanksgiving, Doc. Happy Thanksgiving back to you. I'm getting older. It's harder to see some of these messages. And Thomas of Thomas. We need to start bringing RICO charges against these police unions, blocking victims and taxpayers from collecting directly from these criminals. And Love 18 White Girl also says the doc is in the building. Thank you so much. All right. Got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
A grievance with Booking.com. We'll take care of it that way.
What a... I can't believe...
I'm not saying a word to you.
I have stayed...
You're escalating. You're escalating the situation.
You're escalating. You said you're going to refund it, and I say... Get up there.
Ooh. Don't you ever get off this property right now.
Don't ever film me.
Get off this property.
I'm calling the police.
You please do. You just hit my phone across the room.
You get the money right now.
You settle down.
Forget it.
I'm refunding the money. He's acting like an absolute...
This guy's filming this thing.
Absolutely.
What?
I got him assaulting me on video, bud.
What? How did
It's still recording.
How did
You want to go to jail?
Jack, let's
call
go.
Do you want to go to jail? You need to get off the property.
Okay.
I want the refund now.
I'm refunding you the money.
You go on.
He's doing
No,
I'm waiting.
I would rather speak with your wife. She's very rational right now. You are not. I'm going to print a receipt.
Let's just leave.
Print a receipt.
For her. I don't want you in here.
Sir, you are one lucky male Karen, sir. You are obviously married to a person who does not engage in Karenicity. You're talking to someone who's trying to look out for you after you physically assaulted that person. They are still trying to refund your money. After the physical assault, I would not have refunded you a damn thing. You would have had to call corporate because I would have enforced a trespass. Put it full mass. Irate male Karen assaults a worker, according to the allegation and narrative, over a refund. The interesting plot on this one is the extremely reasonable wife, because usually we don't see this. Usually when there's one Karen, and that Karen is married, well, the other person is a Karen too. But in this case, his wife, very reasonable, trying to be a voice of not only concern, but appropriateness. Sir, individuals who work in service industries where you have to say, hey, I want a refund, whatever the gripe may be, they have the right to record. You are in a public space. They have a right to record. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that on your way there and inside of that facility, you were being recorded by multiple cameras. When you are on your drive, going wherever you are going in this country, you are being recorded by multiple cameras. You are constantly being recorded, sir. The fact that this individual decided to record in order to protect themselves is lawful. It protects you and him. And what you did was criminal against the individual simply exercising their right to record. All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
I mean, absolutely. I feel like I have this theory that certain gentlemen of this age spend their lives doing what they do, and they sometimes pop out of retirement or whatever it is, and they have no idea how the world works. Someone puts a phone in their face, they see red, and they go into their lizard brain and go, all right, I'll just knock it out of your hand. Surely this won't have any consequences attached to it. So I can't say someone hasn't said to me before, I'd rather speak to your wife because she's more reasonable, but that's more of a global situation and doesn't typically happen after I knock a phone out of somebody's hand. So
Right.
good on this guy for staying calm as well. I'm not talking about the Karen. I'm talking about the guy filming, because his cadence the entire time, the logic he was using, the power of being able to stay calm during these instances is something that is, invaluable these days.
Yeah, that's right. Well said. All right. This is an ironic story, man. So the mother of Karoline Leavitt's nephew has been arrested by ICE. Okay? Karoline Leavitt, the chief spin officer of lies from the White House in defense of Donald Trump's ICE program and everything else. So according to the Daily Beast, let's put it back up. According to the Daily Beast, White House press secretary Karoline Leavitt has been scolded over her refusal to help after ICE detained her nephew's mother. The White House official has gone on radio silence since Bruna Fiera, who is the mother of Leavitt's nephew, was swept up by ICE this month. Ferrera's sister, whose last name is Rodriguez, tells the Boston Globe. Ferrera is 33, a native of Brazil, has lived in the United States since she was 6 years of age. Dos Santos Rodriguez says her sister has been part of the Leavitt family for more than a decade after she had a son with Leavitt's brother, Michael Leavitt Sr. They never married, but share custody of their son, who splits his time between his dad in New Hampshire and his mother in Massachusetts. Karoline Leavitt has decided not to address the situation. Michael Leavitt, who has since remarried, did not respond to a request for comment. A source familiar with the situation claimed to the Daily Beast that Santos Rodriguez was less involved in the Leavitt family, saying, quote, this individual is the mother of Karoline's nephew, and they have not spoken in many years. The child has lived full time in New Hampshire with his father since he was born. He has never resided with his mother. However, a 2014 article, this is a news article about Leavitt's brother winning $1 million as part of a fantasy football competition, included him saying that Ferrera was his fiance. Ferrera was his fiance. He added that they lived together with their 8-month-old son. Can we just stop for a second? Did we really expect this White House and this Leavitt to tell the truth about this situation? Okay. It should not be a shock that there's contrary information to the narrative that has come from the White House. Okay, let's continue. Quote, I need the lights fixed on the back of my car. Ferreira told a local paper when asked if their family had an immediate need for the $1 million. She said she needed her lights fixed on the back of her car. Quote, and we need a lamp for my son's room. Other than that, we don't really need much. We have our health. We have a nice condo. We really are blessed. Leavitt said he planned to spend some of the money by taking Ferreira on a trip to the West Coast. This is all documented, okay? All documented. Making the current matter more bizarre, Dos Santos Rodriguez revealed that some in the Leavitt family, including her child's father, pushed her to self-deport after she was detained back to a country where she has no home and hardly speaks the language. Quote, they just kept saying, tell her to self-deport. She told the Globe, self-deport to where? Brazil is not her home. They're trying to push it off as a vacation. That's not a vacation. Bruna barely speaks the language. End quote. Ferreira, who was leaving her home in Revere, Massachusetts to pick up her son at the time of her arrest, is now being held at an ICE facility in Louisiana. The Globe's report said, quote, her car was suddenly swarmed by immigration and customs enforcement agents. They were not the most gentle with her, Dos Santos Rodriguez told the paper. The Department of Homeland Security spokesperson said in a statement that Ferreira, quote, has a previous arrest for battery and that she overstayed a tourist visa in 1999. She was merely a kid. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem, all individuals unlawfully present in the United States are subject to deportation. However, there's a however here, a big one. The attorney of Ferreira's attorney disputes that his client has any criminal history. Quote, Bruna has no criminal record whatsoever, he said. I don't know where that is coming from. Show us the proof. There are no charges out there. She's not a criminal, illegal alien. Sad, isn't it? So let's take it away from the real housewives atmosphere of the White House. Let's bring it into the real world. There's a mother who has been separated from her son. There's a mother who likely was separated from her son unlawfully. Potentially, she has been targeted by members of this administration because she did not engage in self-deportation because, well, she's been here since she was 6 years old. This is her home. And maybe the emphasis for her to self-deport was to stop the political fallout of a national story like this breaking sometime in the future. So maybe she was targeted. Here's what we can do. A mother has been separated from her son. Her family doesn't seem to be fighting for her on the Leavitt side. They are powerful. They utilize influence to enrich themselves. They utilize influence to protect certain family members. Hell, they have utilized their influence to protect their friends who have been accused of human sex trafficking. But they will not utilize their influence to make a wrong right. Put it up. There's a GoFundMe for this mother. The GoFundMe for this mother, Ferreira, has raised nearly $20,000 as of Wednesday morning. The fundraiser says that she has maintained her legal status through DACA, followed every requirement, and has always strived to do the right thing. I'm sure my sister was terrified, frantic, Dos Santos Rodriguez said of her arrest. She's been here since she was 6 years old. She's more American than she is anything else. And the bottom line is she's human. She's human. And so I'm asking, let's put it back up. I'm asking anyone who can provide some assistance to provide assistance, do the very best you can to support this mother. who has been, in my opinion, illegally separated and definitely unethically separated through an immoral act of this administration. Okay, dear brother, thoughts here.
I mean, I was thinking a little bit about some of my family members when I talked to them about undocumented immigrants, about ICE, about all of these raids that are happening. And some of them, absolutely, they drink the Fox News Kool-Aid and they sit in their living rooms and they understand the reality very differently than we do. So I appreciate you actually bringing it back to the real world, because when I sometimes attempt to do that, it's like speaking a different language. When you remind people that these policies are having actual material effects on people, when you go, hey, actually, these are human beings. This isn't just like a political idea that you've been sold on Fox News. So I'm glad that you did that. I don't know exactly what the answer is, because when you combine the hysteria that we have as a people over undocumented immigrants, and then you see the manifestation of what that hysteria looks like in the real world, I don't know how anybody can sit and smile at what's going on. It's disgusting. These people need to be reined in some way. And I think the American people need to do a little bit more like proper research on exactly what their prejudices, what their ideas are actually based in, because this is not based in reality. The amount of vitriol that we have toward this group of people and the collateral damage, I think, is just going to continue to happen.
That's right. And it requires some soul searching.
Yep, absolutely.
Because the expression that we have about other people are really, those are really expressions that we have and hold on the inside of us. Okay, we got more on the other side. Indisputable stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Don't forget our brand partner, Noble Mobile. Great Christmas idea for a gift. Very dope plan. $50 a month, unlimited data. If you do not use data like that, great. They give you cash back. Not Noble Mobile bucks, not a discount for a future plan, but actual cash back. Big wireless companies, what do? Well, they overcharge you, and then the data you don't use, it goes back to the stakeholders. Well, this plan, that money goes back to you. Novel idea. This is the only wireless plan that does such a thing, and we are proud to be partners with them. We're building a movement for transparency and fairness. This is part of that. If you switch to the no bull plan, you keep your number. You can keep your number. Okay. Your number's yours. You get unlimited data, $50 a month. You don't use the data, you get cash back. $50 sign-up bonus also. Noble Mobile. Limited time only, so go to tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch, or use the QR code. All right. A lot of comments. I'll read as many as I can. Mr. Kitty, and he said that's what he calls. He says, it's what I call my wife. Thanks. Happy Thanksgiving, TYT fam. And, yep, next to what you reported, these police officers should have to carry insurance. That's correct. Malpractice insurance, basically. And if they do something like this, it comes out of their insurance and their rates increase. This would end very quickly, much like how malpractice insurance works. That is correct. That is correct. It seems so simple for them to implement something like this. And, yep. Love 18 White Girl. Happy Thanksgiving, Doc. Happy Thanksgiving back to you as well. Okay. We have an update to a story that we brought you. A city is paying $825,000 after Oak Lawn cops decide to brutally beat a teenager. I'm going to remind you of it and give you the update. Here it is.
These cops is fighting this little kid. Ooh. Why is they beating him like this? It's a little old boy.
Dreams come true. Visit
Yeah, Diddy, I'm getting this on camera. Why is they beating him up like this? Ooh. Y'all, this is a little kid. I don't even want to get over that because they police be doing dumb getting the shooting and
Thank God for that woman recording this brutal assault. Put it up. We have an update. This was a violent arrest that took place over 3 years ago of Hadi Abwatela. Hadi, who was violently arrested as a teenager in Oak Lawn, will now receive $825,000 in a lawsuit settlement. Hadi, now 21, was arrested in July 2022. While conducting a traffic stop, the local police said they smelled marijuana coming from the car they pulled over. Body cameras captured the then 17-year-old running from officers. Eventually, officers stopped him in the street. Video released by Oak Lawn police officers, it shows the cops hitting the teen. No debate. Prosecutors accused the officer of punching the teen in the face more than 10 times during the arrest, and said he also used his taser, which led to the teenager being hospitalized. The officer was initially charged for the violent arrest. However, Cook County State's attorney, that office decided to drop the charges. Hadi pleaded guilty in juvenile court to unlawful use of a weapon in the incident. He then filed a $2 million lawsuit against the village of Oak Lawn and the police. On Tuesday, the village board approved to pay this young individual who was assaulted by the cops $825,000 in a settlement. Once again, defunding the police by way of the police. The board said they voted to approve the settlement, quote, not because of the merits of the case, which is insane because the cop was arrested. The cop was indicted for brutalizing this kid, but because the village's insurance carrier was pushing for the settlement, because the insurance carrier knows that the cop was liable. That's why. And if you take it to trial, the insurance company knows, well, they're going to pay out more money than an $825,000 settlement. That's why. The village's out-of-pocket cost for the settlement is $250,000, with the insurance carrier paying the difference. So sad. Hardy's attorney issued a statement to ABC7, quote, "The approval of the civil settlement by Oak Lawn to compensate Hardy for excessive force used by police is important. Accountability for his injuries, including a broken nose and significant emotional distress. The video evidence is crystal clear. Hardy was beaten by a gaggle of uniformed police officers, 3 white officers using closed fist blows to the head of this Palestinian-American teenager was wholly unreasonable and should never have been used when other tactics were readily available. This young man is only 5 foot 4 inches, 120 pounds, while one of the officers alone was 6 foot 4. Cowards. They are cowards. Once again, cowards that will not receive a criminal penalty for the actions of brutalizing a child, but the residents will receive a financial injury for the cops' criminal behavior. That is my opinion. To the young person, to Hadi, who had to endure this, my heart goes out to you, young brother. But I want you to know that nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you. I know you will utilize this, transform it, turn it around, and become an advocate for righteousness as you already have done. All right. Dear brother, thoughts here.
I think that was beautifully said. I think this is a horrific case. Also, I think there's this knee-jerk reaction sometimes when they list the things that have happened to these victims, and among them is simply emotional distress, significant emotional distress, because it is significant and it is something that will last potentially a lifetime, and there was no reason for it to happen. But as you said, hopefully he can use this level of trauma, because who knows what's going through your head when this is happening. You're imagining you're going to die, and you're going to carry that for the rest of your life. So hopefully that can be carried not in a way that is detrimental, but in a way that, hopefully can bring hope to other people.
Very well said, dear brother. Always fascinating to have you on the program. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays to you and your family. Tell people how they can follow you, continue checking out your great work.
Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving to you. And check me out at substack.com/Elliott Morgan or Instagram.com/Elliott Morgan. But thank you again for having me, Doctor.
Thank you, my friend. All right. Bullpen is next. Stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Mateo Scarapo here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Here's the inside scoop on diners in LA. You want good pastrami sandwich, you go to Factors. You want to see some people in the business, you go to Nate and Al's. You want the best variety? My secret spot's the Nosh. Now here's the inside scoop on politics and news. You go watch the Young Turks live every day at 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right, welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen.
Do you guys remember Derrick? He was the kid that got his property, his farm, stolen by this white family. The family's name was the Hardys, and Derrick was really good friends with them through the church. They ended up buying this home together, and then the lady who he was doing business with ended up transferring everything into Derrick's name. Well, later on, there was that went down, and the family ended up moving into Derrick's house because he was trying to help them. Well, they ended up taking over his home and basically kicking him out of the house. But because the family had all these connections to the judge and the police and all these things, they ended up taking his house. And you guys remember this plane crash that just happened in Covington, Georgia, right? You won't believe it if I told you, but it's right there. James and Janet Hardy are the couple who stole that boy's house. They were the couple that died on that plane after it took off.
You cannot, as much as you don't want me to be a resident here, I am. You can't get over that. I am a resident. I am. I am a Morgan County resident, and you cannot get over that. Would you like to go to? I mean, this is my home, and this is my home. Hey, everybody, I'm getting ready right now. I'm here at my home in Morgan County, Georgia, that I have the deed to. That's my residence that I have a Supreme Court ruling to. That my cars are registered. That my license is to. I think last. Do you still have my license?
No, I got it back.
Okay, so you did. Okay, here we go. That my license are registered, and this officer is going to tell me that I don't live in my own home. We've been through this time and time again.
Well, at this point, listen, I'm going to issue a warning, okay? And then we're going to have you vacate today. There has to be a court order to say that they're evicted from here before you can come back.
So you're moving the residents. So you're moving me out of my home.
They're the residents.
I'm the resident.
They've been staying here daily.
I don't have to. What law says I got to be in my sleeping in this bed every night? What law? What law says I can't sleep? What law says I can't handle business in another city?
Are you going to sign these?
If I don't sign it, you're taking me to jail, right? If I don't sign this, you're taking me to jail.
Refusal, you're still going to have to leave the property. And if you don't leave after that point, once I sign these all as a refusal, yes, we will.
Extreme allegations. We've been covering this since, we got wind of it. And the plot thickens. We have on the program none other than Mr. Derrick Williamson. Derrick,
hey.
Good to have you on the program, sir. How are you?
Honored. Hey, given the circumstances, I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be here today, Dr. Ritchie.
Glad to have you. And once again, I echo the sentiment that those who are on the other side of this, you have the opportunity to come on Indisputable at any time to provide your side of the story. Derrick, I got some questions. Okay,
yes, sir.
All right. So you don't have to be a law scholar to know some simple facts about police and enforcement. Typically, police, they are not able to enforce civil rules without a court order specifying the action they need to take.
Absolutely.
Okay. I heard them say that you would need to produce an eviction notice for said parties that should not be there. But they didn't say the said party needed to present an eviction notice for you. Can you help me understand the application of that in that city?
And Dr. Richie, I'm just as shocked as the 14 million people that's been on my page this past week, because at the end of the day, you made it very clear they are not to interfere with civil proceedings, and that there has to be an order for that. They disregarded that in any sense of the way, and they began to obviously violate my rights to remove me as the homeowner, as the resident. And in my video, I'm very clear. I'm very pointed. I gave them a deed to the property. My name is on the deed. I'm the sole deed holder. Okay. I gave them my license that has the address on it. I'm registered in Morgan County, Georgia. I gave them a Superior Court ruling. Okay. And this is where it's interesting. I provided to them a Superior Court ruling. The highest court has ruled in this matter already in this case. And I am the 100% sole owner, winner of everything. I won that case, and they didn't want to accept anything. My vehicles are registered to the property. And I gave the department one, hey, let them produce anything. I've given you everything. Let them produce anything.
Man, and the irony is usually a cop is just going to say, do you have a piece of mail with your name on it? If you have a piece of mail with your name on it, you're supposed to be here because now you've established residency. Can you give the viewers the background for those who may not be fully aware of how this happened, and also explain the exotic animal sanctuary that you have and that you that they tried to deprive you of, and the residential part?
Absolutely. So, to those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Derrick Williamson. I'm the young black farmer out of Georgia. And one thing that's unique about me, my company, The Way Dynamic Animal Therapy Encounters, was emerged because we believe that animals have an ability to help people heal, ability to minister to people when pharmaceutical drugs can't. Our nonprofit flips the concept, right? And humans are able to minister to animals through wildlife rescue efforts when animals are injured, orphaned, and hurt. We're able to help minister to them and help them get what they need to get back into the wild. The reason all this has came to be because Janet Hardy, right? She was a millionaire donor that contributed wonderfully to the organization and to the ministry. So backstory is, even before I knew anything about their finances or anything about that, they came to me because they needed help. Jordan Hardy, the video that went mega viral of her, accosting me on the day of my brother's death, that video went crazy on the internet. She ended up having an unplanned pregnancy, okay? And her father said that a child must be terminated. And there was a lot of stress in the household that was there. And to make a long story a lot shorter, they both brought the situation to me. I'm Jordan's former faith-based counselor. She had a terrible drug addiction. And we worked overtime to get her into sobriety, and she finally achieved that. So bottom line is this: I opened my home up, okay, to the Hardys. I told Jordan that you are more than welcome to move into the spare bedrooms in my home. And Janet, because I cannot take care of a child. That's not my perspective right now. I'm a director of organizations. I have things to do. You need to move in with your daughter, and I'll just provide a safe environment to make sure that you guys are fine, that you guys have what you need, as far as the transition. And Janet also needed help with Jordan because as Jordan has a lot of respect for me being her former faith-based counselor, and Janet needed somebody to help keep her locked in, okay, with that transition. So that's how we all came to be. And then we talk about the sanctuary. I would find out later on, I did not know this initially, that Janet was actually a very wealthy multimillionaire, okay? In the midst of them living in my home, and see, this thing, people didn't catch this. I let them move into my personal home before the farm, okay? That was before the farm. I let them move into my personal home with me, okay? Janet ended up inheriting millions of dollars from her parents' estate in the midst of them living with me. And to make a long story a lot shorter, Janet approached me one day and said, "Hey, Derrick, I see what you do for these animals. I've been a part of this ministry. I've been helping. God has put on my heart to donate to the ministry to help you guys get to the next level." And then she was so happy about it. I immediately cautioned her because she told me about what she gave numbers and things like that. Said, I want to give a significant donation to the ministry and things. And I challenged her, go make sure that you heard from your perspective of source. Did you heard definitively that you're supposed to do this? She was reassured me multiple times, and we had a lot of other people that counselors that we tagged in to make sure everybody's on the same page. And so now in real time, why am I on Indisputable all this time later? A lot of you guys said, "Oh, she's been swindled or scammed," and all people have swung all kinds of narratives. Bottom line is this: at the end of the day, when I sat at one of the most successful closing firms in the state of Georgia, with two realtors from each side, the closing firm attorney, myself as a CEO and founder, and Janet, and we all made the decision that the deed was going to be in the ministry's name, that secure that the company owns everything, to secure that the ministry is the one of the recipients, to secure that the people we serve are the owners. We all sat at that table that day and made that very clear by documents. So why am I sitting here years later trying to, we've seen the videos, I've showed you guys complex levels of catastrophic things they've done, from the stealing of exotic animals, from the dismantling of my home, from me being removed from my home, judges stepping off the bench to come after me personally because I made a TikTok video exposing that she didn't have a law degree. So I challenge you all to go down the rabbit hole. But Dr. Ritchie, in a nutshell, that's where we're at. She contributed to the ministry greatly, and I respected it. We save life. Bottom line, I'm not a car dealership or a restaurant, right? What we do is worth it.
I want to make some comparisons here that I think will assist us in the narrative. You said something really profound to me that a few years ago it would have went over my head. You said you told her to check with her perspective of source, which means her higher power.
Absolutely.
Right? Whatever higher power that may be. So you're not trying to indoctrinate an individual into a particular belief structure that says it must come this way or no way at all. You're saying make sure that you are good with your higher self or the higher power that you know of. So that is very important in the narrative for me, morally, ethically. I think that was well said and well put. The other element of this, there are those who have, as you mentioned, said, okay, she was swindled or scandaled. It was a business deal. It was a business deal. And this was a voluntary business deal. I know of hospitals, brother, that have received donation proclamations, meaning a company said, we are going to contribute this amount of money. And when that company did not contribute that amount of money, the hospital sued the company. It is under the doctrine of promissory estoppel. Promissory estoppel means that even if somebody makes a promise to you and you engage in certain actions based on that promise, but they never come through with the promise, even though there's no contract and it was a gratuitous offer.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that they made the promise and due to the fact that you are now engaged in certain action because of that promise, you can sue them under the doctrine of promissory estoppel. We've seen hospitals and nonprofits do that. You haven't done such a thing. This was a contribution to an outfit that would engage in ministerial elements that included exotic animals and human therapy, et cetera. Am I correct so far?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. At what point after this deal that was made with attorneys present, at what point did she or somebody that was a designee, did you hear a regret of the contribution?
That's a good question. So it'd be in January of 2022 that Janet would come to me and say that I'm selling the property, I'm liquidating and selling the property. And I'm like, wait on. You got to gauge context here. I imported some very unique animals across state lines through the Department of Natural Resources, and the animals were trained to minister. Animals like kinkajous, Patagonian cavimaras, wallabies, sloth, animals like that. And we had a lot. We built a lot on the facility, and we were set to minister 6 months in. So it turns out our property value increased significantly in just that 6-month interval that we've had the property. And also in conspiracy, I had other officers and other individuals that were pillars of my company. They all got together in a meeting without me present, and they discussed things about the property's worth and things like that. And they put that up against the backdrop of the ministry that's there. And you got two different people operating separately right now. They are feeling, hey, they see the money and they capitalize on the millions that that the property's worth now versus the context of ministry that we set out to do, right? And at the end of the day, when Janet came to me, and I made it very clear to her, like I made a statement earlier, we are not a car dealership or a restaurant. When we close these doors and we liquidate for whatever reason, right? Things die. Whether that's the child that needed help or the animal that didn't get help. We believe that animals save the lives of humans through animal therapy. And we got to go preserve the life of animals through wildlife rescue. That little baby, that deer that just watched his mom get hit by a car and watching his mom sit there, without, and that baby needs milk now, needs to learn how to live in its natural environment one day. It doesn't happen, all right? So that then January of 2022 is when the confrontation began to happen, and we had that conversation. I said, Janet, I know it's a lot that's here, right? We're too established, and we've already took oaths, and I even made my officers, all of my officers, everybody in the company, they had to put their hand up and take an oath, right? That they would protect the organization and the animals and the people that we serve. I was radical that way because I don't take for granted what we do. It's not people that minister in our perspective like this, all right? So therefore, I was very clear. So that's what happened. Janet brought the information to me. And obviously, I had a conservative approach at first. I said, Janet, listen, let's go sit with an attorney. There's an attorney that me and her both have a lot of respect for, right? I said, let's go sit with him. Let's try to find resolution here, okay? Because we got too much. I have 106 animals on this facility. We've already done this, and we make sure that the deed is in the company's name because we make sure that no matter what happens, the animals own this facility and the people we minister to own this facility. It's not even about us. That's the whole point of there's no documents of anything other than a deed change that happened within 5 minutes. We both signed up. We both closed on the property as 50-50 owners on that property, joint tenants in common. Within 5 minutes, attorneys, because we already had this discussed, came to us in a corporation. We would sign both 50. She signed over her 50% with the notary, all attorneys, all the realtors, all the witnesses in the room. She signed her 50% over. And then I signed my 50% over too to the organization, which made it very clear who the owners are. So that's pretty much when things went south. Later on, down the road.
At any point, so you have this equity, it's an equity agreement. So in this equity agreement, does the equity agreement give her board status rights or trustee status rights to the nonprofit?
Absolutely not. So one thing that's very important, I structured as an S corp. The way Dynamic Animal Therapy Encounters is an S corporation. I did that intentionally. We're not nonprofit because it's rumored
board
that you
owns
can
your
get
nonprofit.
voted out. That you have a board, you get voted out. They don't like the CEO and founder. There's some measures they can take in order to make sure that this company was always going to be secure. I trust these hands to do what God called us to do with this ministry. I made sure that the deed went into S corp, where I control all 100,000 shares. So that way I can give the best advice for the organization. I can make sure that we're govern our practice accordingly. So no one has ever owned shares in this company. So people, and if anybody, and we know that, so Janet has a master's degree in education. She's much older than me, highly intelligent in every sense of the way, highly educated. And she knew it, and she was cognizant of and consent to every part of this. And she knew this. It's basic information. If you're not a corporation, you can't make decisions.
Right. And let me ask you this. At no point has a judge overturned the contract or contractual agreement, making it null and void. Is that correct?
Absolutely not. There's been no defense filed against the authenticity of the deed. It's been secure. The closing firm has confirmed it's nothing because the deed is secure. There was nothing wrong. It was exhibits. All the exhibits are there. Witnesses there. Notaries there. It was clear. It was done. No duress was there. So no.
Let me go to. So something happened earlier this week. You posted videos of the prior abuse you suffered when by the heart is when the brother died. I want to go to the video. We're going to talk about it. Joy, let's see that video.
Okay. He's dead. He's probably in hell. He's probably. Shut the up! He almost hit me because Chris Key would have wanted it. Chris Key wants you to punch me in the face.
My brother died, so that was stupid. Oh my
Your
God.
brother's dead. Chris
Get away from me.
Chris Key died. Wanted it. Chris Key would have wanted it. What happened to you?
You're pushing me. Why are you talking about my dead brother? Stupid.
I'm
It's just
wondering
stupid.
what happened to him. Chris Key would not like this of you. He would say he was making a mistake.
Man, I'm telling you. Keep my brother's name out your mouth.
Tell me to one more time.
Keep your name out your mouth.
Jordan, stop. What are you going to do about it? He's dead anyways.
It's actually not all. The worst thing that allegedly happened here.
Get away from me! 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 from me. Get your hands off me. Ah, shit. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Again, because I'm not going to keep on letting you put your hands on me.
Get out of the house. This isn't your house.
Get out of my face. Get out of my face. Move. Get your hands off me.
James Hardy shows up to Derrick's home, vandalizes his GMC Sierra 2500, and tried to whip Derrick with a fishing pole. He also assaulted Derrick, leaving several bruises that were documented by officers who responded to that incident.
Hey, man. How you gonna get out? You have to call Uber. You got two choices. You know, you can get fishing pole or we're gonna call 911.
Dad, don't do that.
You got your choice.
He's gonna start.
You're aggravating my family.
Derrick, what was happening during that encounter?
Oh boy, you just covered a lot of took me down. Yeah, you covered a lot. You know, the fishing pole, I'm assuming you're speaking of the fishing pole incident or all of them in general. I just speak general. You know, the first video you played was, you know, my brother lost his life in a motorcycle accident that day. I watched his body on the side of the road that day. Most catastrophic thing and experience and overwhelming of emotions I've ever felt in my life, right? I would go home that day and to be with my animals. I'll be with my animals, my water buffalo, my animals. And as you see in that video, the Hardys are in my personal bedroom, right? On the day. Because they knew it was on the news, things, you know, it was on the news, had to get passed and things like that. And they knew, and they had a plan. We're going to take him at his weakest, most vulnerable moment because we can't make him break the law. We can't make him put his hands on us. So we got him now. He'll do it. Anybody would do it. So they began to use the one thing.
They were taunting you.
Absolutely. They wanted me. And then in video, it's a different clip of the video where she says, he almost hit me. It took everything in me that day to not be going viral on the internet for another perspective.
For lashing out, right?
For lashing out, and that's as a CEO and founder of a company that does animal therapy, and we believe that, and that is not the perspective of the organization or the company. And I'm thankful to this day that granted the situation was intense. I'm glad that I'm not trending on the internet for acting that way. Granted, I feel it was merited. Most people could not have handled themselves in that degree after seeing that fresh rawness. They couldn't handle it.
I want to stop just for a minute, just for a moment, because I want people to understand what you're saying, because it's diabolical if true. You're saying that on the day that your brother died, because of this unfortunate accident, they plotted to basically goad you into a reaction that would eliminate or terminate your access to the property. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That day, and as you see, and then second incident happened. That day I was assaulted again. That incident happened with her, and she could not get the reaction. So then her father, we see videos of her father attacking me after that. And as police reports document, like at the end of the day, there's nothing soft about me. I'm a farmer. I'm rugged. My body is not soft. Maybe in sense of the way. For the police report to document several bruises across my body and across my face and things like that, it shows something. I've never put my hands on anyone in this case. You guys see the videos. You guys say that, oh, he's weak for not doing this. I train water buffaloes and camels. I assure you, there's nothing a problem with me putting my hands on somebody, but I don't operate in that perspective. Right. Mightier is the man that rules his spirit than the mighty king that takes a city. And yes, they exploited the situations.
It takes much more strength to walk away than to engage. Yeah. I know that for a fact. And it takes strength of heart. Bruteness is not the measure of strength. The heart is the measure of strength. And you know that you believe in something far grander, far bigger than what that moment may be, as big as that moment is. So once again, I echo the sentiment that we invite the other side of this narrative to defend themselves at any time. We have always been accessible for that interview to take place. It simply has not happened yet. The invitation remains open. Derrick, I'm out of time, brother. I'm out of time.
Yeah.
Man, you know, I feel for you, man. I feel for you.
Yeah.
And for those who are watching, remind them what county this is in Georgia.
This is in Morgan County, Georgia. Morgan County.
Morgan County, Georgia is a small, tight-knit community, legal community, judicial community, et cetera. It's very difficult to find attorneys who would be willing to take this case because they may get what's called home cooked inside of that county. And it would be difficult for them to maintain a practice if they took this case. But an outside attorney can take this case without worrying about being home cooked in Morgan County. Have you found an attorney as of yet that would take this case?
No, sir. I haven't found an attorney that will step in and hold them accountable for the deed, fraud, and all those things. I haven't found an attorney yet. That's why I'm hoping being on here that I can reach somebody that can help me. I mean, I've called names like, like Tyler Perry, different people that I'm in Atlanta. And anybody, any celebrity out there that can help, or anybody, a lawyer, a high-powered firm that's not afraid of the county. I've been in this thing since 2021. Guys, I'm out of resources. I'm here. That's why I'm on the show again. I need help, man.
And my team has reviewed the Supreme Court ruling and the other variables of this case. That's why we have Derrick back on the program. We're going to put up your GoFundMe as well. We've included this GoFundMe in the link description of the video. If you could, Derrick, tell us why this GoFundMe is important.
Hey, everybody, this GoFundMe is important because at the end of the day, I've been fighting this for years. I work almost 60 hours a week, and there's so much I have to do to managing this fight and the strain of everything that's here. I've kept the fight for years, and I'm now they've tried their strategy to win was to burn me out, right? They've deplete all my resources, and make me go insane. But I'm still here and I'm still sane. And this GoFundMe is going to help me secure counsel, help me maintain what's left of the animal family. I pay zoos to take care of the animals and to sustain and carry me over in this time until we can officially get a high caliber attorney to come in and clean house and for the violations that's there. And also, Dr. Shot Ritchie, because my case has now gotten so much publicity nationally, there's many of you that have been reaching out to me on social media telling me about your land theft. And I know we're short on time, just briefly. If you go to my website, helptheark.org, there's a tab that says land theft. Go fill that out. And so therefore, you don't have to keep on trying to get me on social media because there's a lot going on there. I'm developing a coalition of land theft people that are experiencing land theft. I'm pulling up us all together and I'm getting a leadership team in place to help everybody be encouraged. And as we begin to fight as a unit and as a team, I'm championing that cause. So if those are trying to get me on social media, helptheark.org, like Noah's Ark, and it's land theft. Fill that out. And as we establish that, we're going to make sure to reach out to you.
Derrick, last question before you go. Was there
Yes,
a
sir.
sense or sentiment from the donor that because she had donated money to the nonprofit or to you for this particular ministry, that it entitled her and her family to particular access and rights to you and that property?
Absolutely not, because that would be a red flag to anybody, right? And then we know that if they gave any residue or if she gave any type of residue or hint or inclination to that, that will indicate that we might be sitting here today. So as a leader and as a shepherdess practice, I would never put us in that predicament. She made it clear to make sure that never. She made. I don't understand the business organization. She did her perspective, and that was to give to the preservation of life. That didn't give her the ability to govern the practice, and she knew that because we would have had conversations about that. And I said, okay, well, that means you need this amount of shares, right?
Yeah, man. Best of luck to you. I'm sure that there will be those reaching out to you, even based on this interview, and we hope to have a more favorable update the next time we bring you on Indisputable, brother. Thank you for your continued leadership. Thank you for what you're doing to try to remedy humanity and therapy by bridging the gap between man and animal. I think it's a remarkable idea.
And Dr. Rashad Ritchie, one thing I want to comment on real quick, I know we got to go. A lot of you guys see me in gladiator gear and all my videos and stuff like that. I've trademarked this concept because when you're fighting for your land and fighting for your life, a gladiator got to fight in a coliseum on his own against all these obstacles without an army. I felt like that going against government and powers. Now I use the same energy to help advocate for you guys and fight for my family, fight for my animal family. So when you see this uniform, you see this gladiator gear, that's what it represents. It's bigger. We got to fight to win. So thank you, Dr. Rashad Richey. Appreciate you. And thank you for your support, brother. And I'm sure I'll be in contact, hopefully, with some good news soon.
Absolutely, brother. We look forward to it. Happy holidays to you and your family, brother. All right.
Thank you so much.
Very thankful for every single one of you. Remember, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.